Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast. We are back fast and furious this time with our next episode, recapping episode 4 of season 4 of the Amazon Prime Video series, The Boys. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Vinny Albano.
Hello.
Michael Pennison is not with us for this episode, but he will be in future installments. He's just unable to be here for filming today, and we wanted to get this one out quick for you guys because it did drop today as of our recording. And so, yeah, Vinny, we just released a few days ago our thoughts on the first 3 episodes. And just to recap for people that might not have seen that yet, we're kind of on board with, I would say, a lot of the audience in terms of it not being a negative show, but it's just not as good. It's not holding up to those first 3 seasons in comparison.
Yeah.
We did think that it kind of ended on a good note with episode 3, so we were at least looking forward to seeing what would happen in episode 4. And this episode, it is titled
The Wisdom of Ages.
Wisdom of the Ages. And a lot of what this episode covers is this big rally that is a 6-hour live stream that is thrown by I believe Firecracker is one of the new members of the Seven, as well as we get a really big dive into the past of Homelander. So before we dive into the details of what that episode kind of encompasses, just want to remind our audience that this is a spoiler review. So we're going to be talking about things in detail about what happened in the episode. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check out episode 4 yet, that's okay. Go ahead, go watch it on Amazon, and then when you're done, come back and let us know your thoughts on the episode in the comments, as well as check out our full-length conversation. So you guys have been warned, this is a spoiler discussion. Vinny, let's get into it. Go ahead, give me your thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, so The Boys Season 4. I feel like this might be my favorite episode thus far. Kind of rivaling with episode 3. But still, I'm not going to lie. Still, it feels as if we're taking a very odd direction. It feels as, leaving off on the cliffhanger of season 3. This explosive, WTF moment, and then having very high expectations going into season 4. I still feel like they haven't fully kind of fulfilled people's expectations, at least my expectations. I think that everything they do with Homelander in this episode was easily my favorite part. I thought it was super, just seeing Homelander in a position where he can be Homelander and just be this absolute diabolical force of evil is it's really entertaining to watch. Anthony Starr, like you've mentioned in the last episode, he is so good as Homelander, and this is another excellent example of it in this here. But I still have this feeling of it almost feels like they don't know where to go almost. Like they're kind of we're 4 episodes in, we're at the midway point, and I thought this was going to be a lot more explosive than it was. However, we do get the stuff with Starlight, and she beats the shit out of Firecrackers.
Yes,
so
she does.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think that episode 3 is probably still my favorite, but there are some things that I really like in this episode. Similar to what you said, Anthony Starr is such a force of nature. You get really good visuals in this episode too, I feel like. Really good imagery in terms of the way that they're trying to project the season and where they're going moving forward. Just every single scene with Homelander in this episode is it still feels like that tenseness that you feel anytime he's in a room and he's trying to be fun, he's trying to be snarky, but at the same time you know that within any second he could just literally blow your balls to smithereens, which happens. And I just think, I hope at some point he's recognized for how amazing he is in the show, because it's kind of remarkable, especially when you see, I don't know if you ever watch Banshee?
No,
another show that he's led. It's a fantastic show and a completely different character.
Yeah.
So obviously has a massive range. But yeah, I feel similarly to you, coming off this episode. I do think this episode and 3 were stronger of the 4 so far. So I am looking forward and I'm trying to be hopeful that we're going to get some more interesting things that are leading us up to what's going to happen in the finale. I think that we need a big death. I think we need something to shake the show up. And with our main players of the boys, I don't feel a lot. there,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah.
struggle for me so far this season. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the last episode. Hughie gets more spotlight this episode, but not much in terms of the story. We just know he's going to get Compound V for his dad. That's really
Yeah.
it. You're not learning anything else about the character. Starlight, a lot of the things that are coming to fruition we already knew about. And Billy keeps having these visions. I'm interested to see what comes of that.
Yeah.
And I know Michael had a theory in terms of that. Bless you.
Thank you.
But there are things that we're still waiting on, and I think that's what it is. It's like we're waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
when you're halfway through a season. I always like the method when a writer goes into it where they're like, we're gonna have something really crazy in the midway, but not something overwhelming that we can't top it.
Yeah.
Just something to make you and keep you thinking.
Yeah.
And of course, Homelander's laying out bodies left and right in this episode, but they're bodies that are not significant to us. They're significant to him as a character.
And we see him do that all the time.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know if you had anything else to add based on.
Yeah, I mean, for this, I want to go to Frenchie because I was really interested where they're taking Frenchie's character. I think that, him telling Colin about the truth might really give us some nice character development later by the conclusion of this season. But as of right now, Colin gets introduced. He becomes a love interest, and then immediately after, now it's like, all right, it's done. So I'm really curious, like, why we're spending time with that. If Colin is going to come back into play and play more significance, if this is going to be something really detrimental to Frenchie's character, just really kind of confused there. I think with the short amount of time that we were given and a lot of mystery still behind the killing of Colin's family, that the bomb dropping of Frenchie telling him the truth wasn't as rewarding as I think the writers wanted it to
100%.
be. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. With Homelander, like mentioned, that scene is great. I love the ending where he's covered in blood in the elevator, very synonymous with imagery from the previous seasons. And just seeing more of how much of a tortured youth he was. That line of how he was thrown in the oven and it didn't burn my skin, but it still really hurt.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. Theories. I want to go into a little bit of theory crafting.
Okay.
I know we didn't cover it on the last episode, but there was a theory going around that the device covered in blood when the Deep and Sister Sage make out was a lobotomy device, and we get that confirmed here, where that she is forcefully giving herself lobotomies to basically dumb down herself so she can live among others. That was really interesting, and she's probably the most interesting plot thread here that they're like setting up in terms of mystery. For me, I really am curious, like, how the most intelligent person in this universe and what her motives are. You know? I don't know if you want to comment.
I think that I agree with you. I think that besides Homelander, she's probably the most intriguing and most interesting character.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to do 4 seasons into a show to completely introduce this character. It's definitely a testament to the performance of the actor in the show. I want to give her a shout out because she's really good in it. Susan Hayward plays Sister Sage. I think that it's something that I know you had brought to my attention before we recorded this episode, that it was a theory that people were kind of tossing around, and you do get it confirmed. There's just a lot there. Like, you don't know how much this is weighing on her, having so much information in her head all the time and scheming. And it's funny because even as normal human beings, right, like it's obvious that what she's doing is she's indulging. Like when she doesn't want to feel the way that she is all the time, like she wants to eat junk food, and she wants to watch reality television, and she wants to get it on with the Deep. So like, it's interesting. It's definitely the plot thread, like you had just alluded to, that I'm definitely most interested in, because I think we're lacking from a lot of the other characters that were more prominent. And it's a testament to the writers that it's great that they're able to make us care so early on about a character like this. But at the same time, I do I think it's hard with what they're doing. Where I said this last episode, they're trying to do. They used to have such a great job of balancing within the ensemble, and I feel like that's not happening as much
Yeah,
this
yeah,
season. Another character, Frenchie's one that you brought up, but the one I want to start seeing things happen with A Train. Like
yeah.
I think that we're getting these moments where he's saving members of the boys and he's doing what he thinks is right, and but he's been balancing on that act now for a couple of seasons.
Mm.
And I think it's time that I kind of want to see that happen. I want to see that turn sort of
Mm.
happen. I thought that maybe it's a little too early to do it in the mid-season finale. But I just wanted to see something come of him too, because I think we're kind of just letting that happen. Like we're just seeing it play out, and there's no payoff yet. So it's like,
Yeah.
why haven't we seen anything yet? But
yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel like the boys themselves this season has taken a sideline on the effectiveness of their characters. I was telling Zach off screen before we started recording how it feels as if so far this season they feel like they haven't taken much initiative as main characters. And in season 3, they were taking so much initiative. But now the boys feel very reactionary. And that might be because of their current scenarios. Starlight has her own thing going on with the protest group. And, now they are working directly under the government. So it might be that's why. But I think the fact of having these really strong-headed and physically strong characters. You have Mother's Milk, you have Butcher, even Hughie. We begin to see him grow throughout these last 3 seasons into a pretty strong individual. And for them not to take like crazy initiative this season has me like, it's like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So I also want to kind of go into a little bit more unless you have any more comments.
Well,
Before
I was just going
forward.
to comment. I think the government point is a good point to make, because I think, and I haven't read the comic. You haven't read the comics either, right?
No.
The boys. I don't know if that's the direction they go in the comics, but I feel like it's unfortunately, it's like limited the writers. It's kind of like boxed them in, because for so long there were people that went by no rules.
Yeah.
And now they have to follow all these rules. And there is a follow up to that governmental thing that we get. That's a big. I have a theory. I don't want to dive into it because I know we're just going to bring up another point, but there's an interesting way that they can go about it politically. I just feel like the way that politics work the best in the show is when Victoria Newman is involved.
Yeah.
We don't have her at all in this episode, so that feels like you're lacking that. But I agree with you. I think that they're in this weird place where they're writing themselves into a hole a little bit, and they're not sure where they're going to go with it because they don't know what they're doing with the boys. Like they have so many different plots happening at the same time for every single one of them. I mean, literally every single one of them this season, with the exception of Mother's Milk, has something they're dealing with. Huey's dealing with his father dying. Kimiko is finally meeting this person that she had a huge effect on when she was in what is it called, Shining Light, right?
Yes.
And Frenchie with his love interest, and Butcher with dying and trying to save his relationship with Ryan. Like that's a lot, plus Starlight. Like there's a lot happening with them, and I think that they just haven't been able to kind of crack that the way that they've been able to balance it out over the past few seasons. But sorry, I didn't mean to go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I apologize. I feel like I'm trying to rush, kind of rush through my thoughts, but I wanted to go into theories. So, because I feel like there is some more mystery alluded to here. With Butcher, we see him just explode a guy. So, but it's kind of a Moon Knight situation. He has a Moon Knight like scenario where it's like he's being strangled, and then it's like, and it cuts to black, and then when we cut back, the guy is already exploded, and even Butcher doesn't know what took control of him. So I'm really curious what his like power is per se, or what's going on. If that might play a part into the demise of Homelander. I don't know. Do you have any?
So there's two things. I just thought of something as you're replaying the scene for me, which wasn't in my head, which I think is a weird possibility. But I had another theory that I'll start with first.
Go for it.
I didn't think that was Butcher that did that. And I think it was Ryan.
Oh,
And the reason I think it was
yeah.
Ryan is because they purposely make it a blackout. And the
Hmm.
other thing is, we're in a lot of scenarios throughout the episode where Ryan could be, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
I mean, A-Train goes to Homelander's compound, which Ryan is staying, right? That's where he's been living.
Yeah.
And he's nowhere to be found.
Hmm.
And he's in there, and Ashley was in there even before that, taking a shit in his toilet. Ryan's nowhere to be found. So that's my first theory. That's what I thought initially. There is another part though that I'm thinking now, where it's like if it was Butcher, he's got this this parasite that we see throughout the season, right? And we saw it last season too. That's squirming its way through his body. This compound V parasite. I wonder if there's something with that where when it's close to death, it elicits this response that it's not gonna, it's refusing to die.
Yeah.
Like this this inevitable sort of I can't think of the word right now. What's the word when you can't die? It's in comics. Immortal. Thank you.
Yeah.
This immortal sort of thing it's controlling his mind and it's tiring him out, and it's because he's a human being, he's not accustomed to it. That's another thing that I'm thinking. But again, I do like my first theory of Ryan a little better, especially because we don't get any glimpses of him throughout the whole episode, though we have all these people of influence around him that are where he's supposed to be. So that's my theory on it. Did you have anything?
I know. I really like that. I like the idea of Ryan being that person, because that ties in their connection, their bond. That you actually just reminded me too of the A-Train Ashley scene, and Ashley's like, "What are we gonna do about it?" And A-Train is like, "Yeah, so what are we gonna do about it?" And Ashley has this face on her. She makes a face. I think that off camera, they, from this point forward, because we never, right? The next time we see A-Train, it's not with Ashley, and we almost forget about it.
Yeah.
I think that they're planning, like they've come to the agreement that they have to like kind of team up and take Homelander down within Vought as well.
Interesting.
So I think that's because we see A-Train. Everyone hates Homelander, but A-Train is purposely putting himself in the scenario where he's trying to clap back at Homelander, and same with Ashley with the toilet. So I think this is them. I think he was alluding to them like coming together and being like, all right, we got to like come together to take him down, or there's going to be no other way.
Well, I think that going off of that too, and it was one of the things I was going to bring up before, and I don't know, again, this is what might, if they continue to go down this path, is what might make it, I guess, the most boring season, or the most the least fulfilling season of The Boys. There's a scene between Starlight and the president-elect, Robert Singer, in which she is trying to say, like, like, I'm in support of this anti-soup legislation. Like, I'm here to help you. And he's obviously fearful of what's going to happen. And at the same time, Victoria Newman and Homelander are kind of in cohorts with each other now a little bit. I think that what's going to happen this season is it's going to be this whole season in which they're going to try to find out the right way to take everybody down. And not like that. That's so much of what The Boys are now categorized as, right? They went from being these ruthless people that would do anything by any means necessary to take out Homelander, to take out Soups, all this stuff. Now they have Soups among them, right? With Starlight and people taking Gen V left and right with Butcher and Hughie. And so I think what we might wind up seeing happening is we might see a scenario in which Victoria Newman announces Homelander as her running mate to make it a real political statement. And having the season end with her winning the presidential election, and having it be a scenario in which they have to then decide in season 5, which was rumored as being the last season. I know Mikey has said he wasn't sure if that was definitely positive. That's what I had seen.
That's what I saw too.
So if we're following that theory, I could see that happening. Them losing somebody significant to their team or something, and then the last season being like, all right, now it's balls to the wall again, and we get a maybe shortened season 5 of a lot of anarchy and action and a lot of things taking place. I think that this season might be a very political heavy and speculation heavy season, which kind of lends itself to that political sphere because this season it pulls no punches, right?
Yeah.
Like they're very obvious about what they're alluding to. Like you can't watch The Boys and not look at how they are making comparisons to our current political system and the way that the world is. So that's my theory in terms of that. I don't know if what you thought about that, or if you had thought about sort of that conversation that Starlight and Singer had and what implications that might have for not only their relationship, but like we're in the middle of a presidential race within the show.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a smart theory. I think Victoria Newman is probably going to win the race by the end of this, because then that just adds another like cliffhanger ending, and it just feels very in nature of The Boys. And I don't know, season 5, we need to assassinate the president type of like subplot would be really cool. Yeah, I don't really have much to comment on that, but I do like that theory. Okay. I do like it a lot. I want to talk and bring up probably like my last big thought, the ending with Hughie's dad.
Perfect. This is where I was going to go to. Yeah, this is probably the last thing we have to talk about, so go right ahead.
Yeah, so Mikey speculated that Hughie took Temp V as well as Butcher, and we're seeing Butcher hallucinate people, and it's a theory that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is also a hallucination. So the theory is that what if Hughie is also getting hallucinations, and that Hughie's mom is not actually real. However, in this episode, that theory is kind of proven wrong, because there is a nurse in the room.
Yeah.
And the nurse never points out, because Hughie does turn to his mom and talks to his mom in the chair. So the nurse never points out, like, yo, who are you talking to in the chair?
Yeah.
Unless the nurse is also a hallucination.
Yeah.
We don't know. However, there is a shot, and it ends. It's 3 shots in a row. It's the mom, right? And then we get a close-up of almost like what she's looking at, and it's the IV like going into Hughie's dad. And then Hughie's dad wakes up, and Hughie's like, what the hell is going on? So what if, this is almost kind of alluding, like, what if Hughie's mom is a soup?
That's a good theory.
What if
that's what I was just gonna bring up. I think that's a really smart theory. And I think the other thing is that we know that she works for Vought.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a possibility that she could either have Compound V in her system, or she's a legitimate soup.
Yeah.
And it would explain a lot, I think, in terms of her disappearing for such a long time. You know, it's definitely that was the first time within the Hughie storyline that I'm starting to get a little bit more intrigued with what we're gonna get out of that. But I think that's a really smart theory too. I think that's possible. We might be hitting these all right on the head right now. Man.
I don't know, but I just found it very interesting how that scene was edited.
Yeah,
and also that brings into speculation of, like, you know, if she is real, if she is a soup, what is her power? And we've seen, I feel like almost every superhero in The Boys, superhero in quotations, everyone has very destructive powers, or very like, we've never seen someone with like the power of regeneration or like healing, reviving. Like, what if her power is like she just bring people back? Or like, I don't know, heal sickness, heal cancers. What if that is the case? What if she is able to heal Butcher and heal him? You know?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. I like that. No, there's a lot in this episode that you can theorize about. We're definitely getting a few more answers coming out of this episode than we did have, which again I think is why it's one of the stronger episodes of the season so far. Even if I'm just hoping they sort of turn up the heat a little bit. You know, I want to see things sort of progress a little bit faster. I know Zach off screen had talked to us about that too. He's currently watching the show, and he echoed a similar sentiment that he's like, I just feel like the pacing could be a little better. And I agree. I do think that they're having a little bit of a pacing problem and a little bit like of a writing problem, just more in terms of them beating you over the head with the references. I think they've always done a good job of balancing it out, where people are hyper aware of what the show is kind of commenting on. But this season there's a few too many references, I think.
Yeah, the Pete Davidson line is always like, I rolled my eyes at that. And we have I forget, I know there was a Kanye West line, there was another line too in this episode. It's like, I don't know, that personally breaks me out of the immersion.
Yes.
I get what they're trying to go for. I
Mhm.
totally understand, because this whole season so far, I mean, the boys has we've echoed this idea. The boys has always been a very in your face satire, and
Mhm.
I've loved it for that, of like how it's like, fuck subtlety, we're just gonna shove it in your face. And I think they do it well, and they do it in such a perfect comedic and entertaining, thrilling experience. This season has really provided a lot of commentary and satire on on the modern era of media consumption,
Mhm.
social media. So I guess that's why they're throwing in like all like the names and the
Yeah.
references. I can't lie though, it does break me out of the immersion
Yeah.
when it's like Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay.
It definitely takes me out of it a little bit too.
Yeah.
But otherwise, think overall pretty good episode.
Yes.
Excited to see what they're going to do next week. We do, like Vinny had said, where you have 4 episodes in. We have only 4 episodes left of what seemingly is going to be the penultimate season of The Boys. But guys, let us know in the comments what you guys think about our theories. Let us know what theories you may have. We love talking theories on this channel. We love nerding out with you guys. So please be sure to let us know in the comments about your theories, as well as ours, and your comments and thoughts on this season and this episode as a whole. Be sure to give this video a like if you can. We also, please subscribe. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, and we're now in the mode of we're doing The Boys every week. We're covering it every single week. So please be sure to check it out and share this with your friends if they're also fans of The Boys. You can also follow us on social media. We are at Cinema Wave Media and at _Culture Wave Media on Instagram. You can also follow us at Cinema Wave Media on TikTok and Threads, as well as just Culture Wave on Facebook. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
And I am Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.